All right, we're going to get started. Good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Witherspoon, Deputy Project Director for Public Outreach for the Purple Line. On behalf of Governor Larry Hogan, Transportation Secretary Gregory Slater, and Maryland Transit Administrator Kevin Quinn, there's a mouthful, welcome to the 7th Community Advisory Committee meeting for the Riverdale, Glen Ridge, and New Carrollton communities. Due to COVID restrictions, we are trying a new format this time out. Please bear with us as this is our first series of live public meetings, and please mute your mics and phones. Next slide, please. Tonight, we'll cover the segment of the Purple Line that includes the following stations: Riverdale Park, Kenilworth, Beacon Heights, East Pines, Glen Ridge, and New Carrollton Metro, some pivotal stations on the eastern end of the 16.2-mile Purple Line. Next slide, please. You'll receive a project update from Matt Pollock and Vern Hartsock, the new leaders of the MDOT Office of Transit Development and Delivery, which oversees the project. For those who didn't know, Matt and Vern replaced Chuck Latuka and Jeff Enzer, and I have been trying to fill the very formidable shoes of Mike Madden, who refused to leave me any of his Purple Line ties and shirts. Matt and Vern will introduce themselves and fill you in on what is happening with the project. After their introductions, we'll update you on how the MDOT plans to manage construction. We'll give you reminders about things to look out for during construction. We'll provide an update on the Art in Transit component of the project, and we'll tell you where to submit questions beyond those that will be addressed tonight. This evening's presentation is being recorded, so you'll be able to find it later on our website, purplelinemd.com. That's purplelinemd.com, along with responses to questions we could either not answer or could not get to tonight. We ask that you hold your questions until after the presentation. Then we will open the meeting to questions, first from CAT members and elected officials. We'll invite you to raise your hand. This app does not have a wave your hand option, so you'll have to actually turn on your camera and physically wave so you can be seen. Then you'll be acknowledged, and you should unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon on your screen or by pressing Control-Shift-M. That's M as in mute. Non-CAT members or CAT members who are viewing the meeting and have questions can ask them using the Q&A function on your screen. Just tap on the question mark icon, type in and send your question, and we'll address your questions if we have time. If your question is not addressed tonight, all questions will be addressed later in a question and response posting on the website. Similar questions will be combined, so you may not see your question posted verbatim. Thank you for joining us. Here's Matt Pollock.
All right. Well, thank you, Gary. Good evening. I'm Matt Pollock, Executive Director for Transit Development and Delivery for MDOT, and I am responsible for the Purple Line project. Most of my career has been dedicated to public transit. I have been involved on light rail projects since the early 1990s. My experience includes light rail startup and expansion projects in St. Louis, Pittsburgh, London, and Charlotte, to name a few. However, without a doubt, being able to join the Purple Line project here in my home state is a real source of pride. Going back a few years, I grew up in Montgomery County, and now I live in Prince George's County. I'm honored to be on the job and here to take the project to completion. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Vern Hartsock, our acting project director.
Thank you, Matt, and good evening, everyone. I'm Vern Hartsock, acting project director. A little about me. Well, I've served with the MTA for over 28 years. I've been working on the Purple Line now for 9 months. Prior to that, I was MTA's chief engineer, and prior to joining MTA, I worked in the private sector for 10 years in a variety of technical positions, including teaching college. I'm a software engineer by training, and I've delivered many successful transit construction projects for light rail, metro subway, and bus. I'm a Baltimore native, and I'm extremely excited to be part of the team that's delivering the Purple Line project. Thank you, and I'll pass back to Matt for a project update.
Thank you, Vern. Well, a lot has been going on with the Purple Line over the last couple months. However, our biggest news happened quite recently, and that's what I'm going to cover now. As you can see on the screen, on November 24th, the state of Maryland and our partners, Meridiam, Star America, and Fluor, announced that we've reached a $250 million agreement that settles all outstanding financial claims and terminates the current litigation between the parties regarding the Purple Line project. Next slide, please. Recognizing that the settlement agreement is still, it's almost finalized and subject to tomorrow's approval at the Maryland Board of Public Works, the initial details are as follows. Purple Line Transit Partners will remain as the P3 concessionaire. PLTP, Purple Line Transit Partners, will proceed with just Meridiam and Star America as Fluor is leaving the project. PLTP's initial activities will concentrate on soliciting for a new design build contractor. MDOT and MTA will continue to manage construction until a new design build contractor is on board. Vern will give an update on the MTA managed construction shortly. After the new design build contractor is on board, PLTP will be responsible for completion of the Purple Line construction and for the operations and maintenance of the new light rail line. And along the way, MDOT and MDOT MTA and PLTP will want to facilitate success through our ongoing dialogue with all of you, the community, residents, and businesses impacted by the Purple Line. We're trying very hard to minimize confusion, and we hope that you will continue to see this as a collaborative effort. Next slide, please. With that, I will pass to Vern to discuss MDOT MTA's management of the construction.
Thank you, Matt. Starting from October up through the present time in this year, MDOT MTA and the contractors have been working together to continue some very important aspects of the project. This includes the manufacturing of light rail vehicles, which is taking place in Elmira, New York, and in Spain, as well as other key project components such as the traction power substations, electrical components, and special track work. This also includes completing the final construction designs for stormwater management and intelligent transportation systems across the alignment. Next slide, please. Starting with the select few locations, MDOT MTA is directing the resumption of on-site construction along the alignment. Now, as the contractors come online, the volume of this work will increase. Presently, we have well over a dozen contractors that have been remobilized and are actively engaged in construction work. And to list a few of those, we name here Pessoa Construction Company, who's doing water and sewer utility relocations and concrete work. Henkels and McCoy is performing gas and overhead power relocations. MC Dean is doing systems and electrical work. Empire Landscaping is doing erosion and sediment control maintenance. They're also responsible for the grounds surrounding the new M we've constructed at the University of Maryland. Traffic Engineering Services is performing maintenance of traffic support. Aves Construction is doing water main relocations. Interlock Steel Workers is performing steel installation. And Priority Construction is doing wool construction. Next slide, please. Now, to go over our near-term managed construction objectives taking place from now to the next 3 to 6 months in the future, this includes utility relocations on Kenilworth Avenue, Riverdale Road, Veterans Parkway, Annapolis Road, and Ellen Road, as well as construction of the new Carrollton parking lot and the completion of the traction power substation at Patterson Avenue, as well as wall construction at the Glen Ridge OMF, or Operations and Maintenance Facility. And at the Glen Ridge OMF, we're going to perform utility work, grading, and storm drainage. Next slide, please. Now, to review our longer-term construction objectives within the next 6 to 12 months from now, this includes the continuation of wall construction, continuation of utility relocations throughout this CAT area, storm drain and sidewalk construction on Kenilworth Avenue, construction of the Riverdale Station aerial deck, the Glen Ridge Mall Bridge construction, the BW Parkway Bridge construction, and complete the grading from Riverdale Road to Ellen Road and continue the test track construction. I'll pass now to Gary Witherspoon for a list of construction reminders and an update on Art in Transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Vern. Here are our construction reminders. You should know that traffic patterns will change as work occurs, as needed, and work may occur on both sides of the road and across roadways. When a lane closure is required, a notice will be distributed via text and email, but you have to sign up through purplelinemd.com, purplelinemd.com. You may see orange cones and barrels in place serving as temporary barricades, and flag people, when required, will direct traffic. We ask you to be especially careful around our construction sites. Pedestrian safety is paramount, as is the safety of our workers. We want everyone, including you, to make it home safely every day. Safety, after all, is our #1 priority. Finally, underground utility work will be going on, and that may require temporary road plates. So please be careful when driving over those plates, especially in inclement weather. Next slide, please. Again, you can sign up for construction notices at purplelinemd.com. For project questions and comments, contact the M.MTA Public Outreach Office. That's us, at outreach@purplelinemd.com. outreach@purplelinemd.com. Or you can call us 24/7 at 443-451-3706 or 443-451-3705 for Spanish. We're manning our hotlines round the clock, so someone will be available to take your calls. They will personally take down your information, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Art in Transit, great part of the program. The Art in Transit part of the program is intact. We are meeting with and talking to artists on a weekly basis, or bi-weekly basis rather. They've been made fully aware of the project status, and almost all of their contracts have been executed. They're now being managed fully by the M.MTA. Half of the fully executed contracts are in Prince George's County. And you can see the artists' renderings on the website, purplelinemd.com, purplelinemd.com. We have a new artist at the Riverdale Park Station after the selected artist dropped out earlier this year. Mick Young Kim Design, the artist initially selected for the Riverdale Park Kenilworth Station, decided that they didn't want to take part in the program, so we've engaged a new runner-up artist, Paramedia LLC, Erwin Rettel of Bowling Green, Ohio, and they will have an exciting artwork. We expect installations of art to occur as designed in the latter stages of construction. Next slide, please. This concludes our CAT presentation. Before we open the meeting to live questions, Matt and Vern will address those that came in before the meeting. Matt.
Thank you, Gary. We do have 4 questions that we're going to address before we open up the floor for questions. So the first one, do you expect any portions of the project design to change now under the settlement agreement? The Purple Line does not expect any designs to change. Next question. Is it possible to accelerate completion of certain infrastructure in and around the project that is disruptive to the community. The state is evaluating construction across the alignment, including areas of local community priority. MTA is actively working with design, construction, and manufacturing contractors to keep the project moving forward. Our focus is on completing design, permitting, and any unfinished work first, with paving and storm water drainage and other utility projects now underway along the Purple Line corridor. We remain committed to continue working with the community and local businesses to collaborate and find opportunities to minimize any impacts to the best of our ability. If the state is able to reasonably advance work beyond utilities using the available pool of contractors, the state will do so. Next slide. Oh, there you are. Okay. What is the prospect for seeking additional federal assistance with the upcoming change in executive leadership at the federal level? The federal participation in the Purple Line project includes the $900 million full funding grant agreement and access to TIFIA loans. TIFIA stands for Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act. The state is not anticipating additional federal assistance for the Purple Line. And next question. What new general timelines can we expect for completion of various aspects of the project? The state will manage Purple Line construction until the new design build contractor is on board, but we do not have a new timeline at this time. And next slide, please. Back to you, Gary.
Thank you, Matt. We will now open the meeting to questions from CAT members and elected officials. By the way, we have Joe Mogis from the SHA with us tonight. I see that we also have several representatives from the county, Vic Weisberg and is that Amy Olivo?
Yeah.
So if you have any comments, Vic, you'd like to add, please feel free. Or Amy. You can do so by unmuting yourself. Okay.
I'm sorry, did you?
Sure, go ahead, Vic.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to, reiterate, the kudos to, reaching an agreement and moving the project forward. There is this interim phase, and during the interim phase, we need to continue to be vigilant about making sure that, especially, safety. We were out there a little while ago, and while it's great that there's work going on Kenilworth Avenue in the section between River Road and 410, that also happens to be the second highest corridor for pedestrian crashes in the county, and maybe among the highest, probably is among the highest in the state too. So, and there isn't really, so buttoning down, making sure there is safe pedestrian access and continuous, pedestrian pathways in these corridors is absolutely critical. But I do want to thank the MTA and the Purple Line team for their vigilance. I also want to touch on the importance of just making sure the corridor is, maintained, kept up, that litter is picked up, and some of the things that we may take for granted, but are, really important in terms of how the project gets perceived. But wishing you well tomorrow in terms of getting everything sort of officially through at the Board of Public Works, And unless, Amy or anybody else from either the county or the representing the council has anything to add. Thanks to those who've attended this meeting, because it is so important to keep everybody engaged throughout the process.
Okay, Amy, would you like to add anything?
Thank you so much, Gary. No, I'm just so glad to be here on behalf of Councilmember Danielle Glaros, and we're thrilled that that everything's moving forward, and definitely echo Vic's thoughts about safety, and just are really grateful for the CAP meetings continuing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we got a couple of questions from Anonymous about Route 450 and Annapolis Road and Veterans Parkway. Issues about potholes, trash, rough spots in the roadway. When will the intersection be smoothed out with permanent patches?
Okay, very good. Thank you for that question. So there's a couple questions in there. So if there are rough spots being left there for an extended period of time, we want to get in there and put some temporary patches in there to smooth them out. However, it's going to be quite a long time before we're able to do our permanent roadway in that area, because there is a lot of utility relocations taking place, and I do believe those relocations are going to continue throughout our interim construction period.
Okay, Jeff Shomich asks, what is the Glenridge Mall Bridge?
Great question. There are people on this call that are better able to answer it. To me, I'll pass it to Vern, and Vern can either take the question or have Kevin Overheim on our construction group address that question.
Thank you, Matt. That's an access to the Glenridge Mall. It's located near our operations and maintenance facility, where our rail storage yard and so forth is going to be. Presently, we have a contractor, JB Fay, who's working on that bridge construction. So that's part of our managed construction activities that we're undertaking presently. Good question.
And actually, Kevin, can you describe where the actual access point is for that bridge?
Sure. So previous to our construction, there was an access to that shopping center. It was a joint access with the Prince George's County Parks maintenance facility, which is where our new operations and maintenance facility will be. So the new access point shifts a few hundred feet to the east, closer to Annapolis, and it will be a signalized intersection for those entering the shopping center, going in and out in the final condition.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, I can address this next question. Regarding the artists chosen for the Prince George's County station locations, how many of the artists are from Prince George's County? If none of the artists are from Prince George's County, why not? I don't have the list in front of me to tell you where exactly people are from, but we will look that up and let you know if there are any from your county. The artists were selected from around the world in a global search for artists. There were exhaustive studies by committees from both counties that worked very hard to pick out which artists they selected for each station. There are 22 pieces of art total for the 21 stations. But we'll have to get back to you on whether any of those artists are from Prince George's County. Another art question, is the artwork finalized for Glenridge Station? Well, all of the designs and the schematics are done for the most part. Some of the art involves photographs of local scenery, which might be adaptable, but for the most part, the artwork has been designed. All right, from Delegate Nicole Williams. Welcome. When do you anticipate having a new construction partner on board to replace Flora?
Very good. Thank you for that question, Delegate Williams. I don't have the exact answer tonight because I know they're still putting everything together. We should know, well, we will know definitively tomorrow when the settlement agreement is presented at the Board of Public Works. I can give you, what I know so far, that because the procurement is taking place through the concessionaire, it has some efficiencies that are not afforded to us as a state agency if we were to do the procurement on our own. So our expectation is that we would have the construction contractor on board ahead of the schedule that we, the state, had been anticipating, and the state had been anticipating somewhere in the order of 12 months to bring our construction contractor on board if we had run the procurement.
Okay. From Deanna Ekanik, any update on reopening allowing partial access from Ellen Road to 450 Veterans Parkway?
We don't have any updates as far as when it can get done right now. We have taken a look at it, and as far as all the work that needs to be taken care of, a lot of utility work in that area. What we don't know yet is whether we will be able to get that work done during the interim period, or whether that is going to have to be put off until the new construction contractor's on board.
Okay, a question from Lisa Butler McDougall of SEED. Will the vibrations from the train be felt along the train route?
In general, I don't believe that vibrations are going to be felt. And generally, this being an above ground light rail system with all of the rail being on top of wood ties. In general, the answer is no. You should not be detecting any vibrations from the moving train.
We have two questions related to the Glen Ridge Mall Bridge. One is, will it be public access? When will it be open? And then the other is this a bridge that will go over the Purple Line tracks to get traffic from 410 into the shopping center?
Those are good questions, and I will pass directly to Kevin Oberheim and let him address those two questions, if he would.
I think the first question on the public access, yes, the bridge will be a shared access point for both our operations center as the main access for workers and vehicle operators as they go to and from work each day. It will also be the public access for the Glen Ridge Shopping Center that was closed back in 2017 at the start of construction. So this is reestablishing that public access to the lower section of the Glen Ridge Shopping Center. And the bridge will cross the Purple Line tracks. And then once you cross the tracks, it will split left and right, with the right side going to the Purple Line Center and the left side going to the shopping center.
Kevin, do we have a rendering of the Glen Ridge Shopping Center?
I don't believe so. I'm not aware of any.
I would add that it's a signalized intersection, so there's a new signal that will be installed there.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
Joe Mogus from SHA. Joel Ryerson wants to know how construction will impact the bus stops. Will they be going to the same locations and on the same streets? And I'll address that one. Joel, we don't know exactly how bus stops will be dedicated at this point. Some bus stops will be done away with, as they will be duplicates of the Purple Line route, so they won't be needed. For the most part, though, bus stops will be retained at or near their current locations. Right. Other questions? Other questions? Do we have other questions? Okay, so we will have a bridge into the shopping center, but the rails will cross 450 at grade. That's from Jeff Shomish.
That is correct.
Greg Sanders is asking more about the new Riverdale Kenilworth Art in Transit project. We are working to get a rendering of that artist on the website, Greg, so we should have that done shortly, and we'll be able to share more about that artist with you. Okay, so folks, don't worry if your questions have not been addressed tonight. You have another week to send us questions to outreach@purpleLineMD.com, outreach@purpleLineMD.com. And if your questions are not addressed verbatim, don't worry. The gist of your questions will be captured because there are many questions that are a lot alike. Okay. Seeing no further questions, I'll turn it back over to Matt.
Thank you, Gary. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank everyone for joining the call today and listening to the news that we have. Please keep your eyes and ears open for results of the Board of Public Works tomorrow morning. We're hoping for a positive outcome, and we're looking forward to taking this project to completion. You know, certainly to the extent that you have questions or concerns, please continue to reach out to us. As Gary said, we are monitoring our outreach hotline and of course our email address. So we welcome the opportunity to communicate with all of you, and we look forward to taking this project to completion. Other than that, I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday and Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.